What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another Diablo Immortal video. Because so many people have been asking, I decided to bring you my Necromancer summons build that really focuses in on lightning. Kind of take you through the whole build today, what I'm using, the gems, the secondary gear, primary gear. We'll take it onto the dummies to show what kind of damage it throws and just kind of take a look overall. As you can see, we're rocking Bone Spear as the primary attack. I just personally like Bone Spear more. I feel I can get more targeted damage on bosses when I want that. I just like that better. We're going with Bone Armor and then all of our spawn, the Command Golem, Command Skeletons, and Skeletal Mage. All right, now when we take a look at my charm, we've actually done a decent job here with the charm. We just rolled Command Golem plus 2% damage. That happened this week. We have Bone Spikes, which I don't use, Bone Spear plus 4% damage, Corpse Explosion I don't use with this build, and Command Skeletons damage. We'll continuously work on this charm over time. I don't put a ton of stress into that though, just because of the RNG it takes to get that where we want it to be. Let's look at the secondary gear right now though. We have a 2-piece Vithu. Increases the duration of all of your beneficial effects on you or your party members by 30%. I like Vithu. I tend to like using it in all the different builds and all the different classes that I use. It's pretty much a standard one for me as a PvE player. Keep in mind, this build we're looking at here today, this is something that we're really focusing in mostly on PvE. Taking it into PvP, it lacks a few things that you're going to want for PvP battles. So let's take a look at the second piece that I wear for secondary gear, and it's basically all Shepherd's Call to the Wolves. It's a 6-piece set, so we get all of the buffs. Summons deal 15% more damage. Critical hit chances increased by 3% for each of your summons up to a maximum of 18%. So I'm getting 18% extra crit damage or percent chance. It's awesome. And we have our summons enter a frenzied state for 12 seconds each time one of them critically hits. The frenzied state increases their attack speed by 60%. Unfortunately, it can't happen more than every 40 seconds, but this is really good for some of those boss fights when you're going against a big enemy. It's a multiple minute long battle. This will be able to happen more and more often. They'll get those crits, they'll get that extra 60% speed, and you could drop tons of damage when you have a bunch of skeletons, a bunch of mages, and a poison golem dropping along the way, which we just kind of gave that away because yes, we are using the poison golem. Now we'll take a look at some other things as well. I typically run Treasure Hunter. If I decide that I want to take this in and get some more survivability, I'll go in with Gladiator, or I'll sometimes even use Warden with this one as well, even though Warden is not completely built out yet for me. When we take a look at our, what do we want to look at? The Haradrim. This is what things are looking like right here. Your Haradrim, you're going to upgrade it as much as you can. I try and do it balanced. I need to do more in potency in here. There's definitely a work in progress. I feel like all of our builds always are. So don't feel like your Haradrim should look any different than mine or better or worse. It's really just I try to upgrade it as evenly as I can. And then we have some warband stuff as well. We don't have any details in here of our warband, but we are in an active warband, so we're getting buffs from that as well. Let's get into the secondary gear now that we have the primary gear now that we've gotten through the secondary. All right, we're going to start off here with Blinding Storm. Essentially, a lot of these are important for this build. Here, we're going with a Pain Clasp rank 8 2-star gem. I want to let all of you know, the gems that I'm using here are pretty good for this build, but at the state of mind, I basically had to redo all of my gems because I went from Barbarian to Necro, and I needed some gems and got rid of some gems, and it just slowed down my process. So I'm trying to get my Pain Clasp to rank 10. We just got it to rank 8 this week. I'm using runes when I unlock them from running Elder Rifts to get them for free and not have to waste any platinum on them. So we'll see how that goes. Pain Clasp, we're liking that. I would say definitely use that. And we're going in with the Storm Rider Legion. Command Skeletons now summons the Storm Rider Legion, who automatically teleport to and damage enemies with lightning. Command Skeletons damage is increased by 18%. Also note, I have 0 cursed properties on this build at all. I've recently just switched out a bunch of equipment. I need to work on and re-roll my cursed properties, so we can get that as well. What you want to avoid with this build is having set properties that kill the damage done by your summons. It's one of the negative attributes, and you want to try to avoid that. With the chest piece, this is an awakened slot. We have a Wrath of the Berserker, or I'm sorry, we have a Berserker's Eye in there. And this one here increases all the damage you deal by 16% and increases your critical hit chance by 2%, but also increases the damage you take. I don't mind taking more damage. I'll stay away from the fight, but I want to drop as much damage as I can. A 1-star gem, easy to rank up, easy to awaken the slot. In my opinion, this is a must-use gem for many builds. Then the properties right here, Pulse Armor. Bone Armor now generates a pulse that wreaths you and your summons in lightning, causing electric links to form that damage enemies. Damage is increased by 18%, and I have Bone Armor damage increased by 10% because the slot is awakened. What's the problem with this? Bone Armor is typically something that protects you. It does not protect you now. It's now a damage dealer. So if you're going in with this build in, say, Heliquary or PvP, you have no way to protect yourself. So I actually do not use this build for Heliquary, especially when I'm dealing with monsters that are of higher difficulty. I'll go with something where I do have the shielding from my chest piece. That's another video, another build. Now we'll get into our shoulders right here, another awakened slot. We're sitting with an Everlasting Torment, and if there were one gem I were to remove from this, it would be the Everlasting Torment. I'm actually thinking, not sure yet, but once I get my Pain Clasp gem to rank 10, I could throw it in the slot for the Awakening here, where the Everlasting Torment is, and potentially put Seeping Bile up into that top spot. We're gonna decide on that over the next month when I get that gem up to speed. Here, Skeletal Mage maximum charges are increased by 1, and the cooldown is reduced by 3.6%, plus the life is then increased by awakening that by an additional 10%. It lives longer, its cooldown is reduced, we can get multiple mages up. It's very often that we'll get 4 mages up at one time throwing damage. Really good one right there. Synod's Anointing. Onto the pants, Graven Bulwark. We're going with Freedom and Devotion. This is the thing, when you play Necromancer, you're investing in gems, and yes, this is only a 1-star gem, pretty easy to invest there, but you're investing in gems that are really only good for summons. And now, even though, like the Crusader and even the Wizard right now do have summon abilities, or if you're using the Echoing Shade gem where you can get some summons as well, it's not the same. You wouldn't probably run this gem unless if you're a Necromancer. But Freedom and Devotion is huge for the Necro. Increases the duration of your summons by 24%. How do you not use that when you're doing a summons build? And the damage done by your summons is increased by 3%. It's just essentially a must use right there, that gem. But the essence is Bone Armor duration is increased by 39%. So that electricity bouncing around from all of my summons and myself is increased by 39%, and Bone Armor cooldown is then decreased by 10%. So it's up longer, and it's a shorter cooldown. The cooldown shortened is because of the slot being awakened, must have. It's going into our first primary piece of weapon. We have the Follower's Burden gem, which is going to increase all the damage we deal by our summons. It's a small increase, it's about 2%. We also only have this gem up to a rank 5. We'll get it up to rank 10 soon enough. It'll probably be the last 5-star gem that I get to rank 10 because it's very specific again to Necro. It takes a while to upgrade 2-star gems, so I'd probably go with all the other 2 stars before I get this one up. But it's important to know what is the essence here, and it is Poison Golem. Command Golem now summons a Poison Golem that can leap to a target location to unleash a blast wave of corrosive acid, damaging nearby enemies and causing them to take additional damage. The Golem damage is increased by 18% as well. Now, I do believe, and I've done a bunch of testing on the dummies, that the Poison Golem is the Golem that does the most damage of all Golem. Even more than the Fire Golem, even more than the Electric Golem. It's the one I like to use. Coming into our secondary piece of gear, Beacon of the Lead, we have our Blood-Soaked Jade. 3-star, rank 5, Blood-Soaked Jade. Debating if I want to even try and get this gem up to rank 6. I don't know if it's worth it for the amount of grind it would take to get it there, and I never seem to catch any luck when I'm running legendary crests. I never get Blood-Soaked Jade Gems. So here, it increases all the damage you deal by 13% while at full life. Essentially, this is a gem. It's probably, in my opinion, the best in the game. It's always active. It increases your movement speed. Amazing gem right here that I will probably always have in a build. I'll never get it to rank 10 though. But the legendary attribute here, or the essence, is Command Golem damage is increased by 19%. That's nice. Command Golem is being more viable. We have our secondary piece of primary gear, or our stance piece of primary gear. We're rocking the Mother's Lament gem. This is one that I had to like rank 6 or 7, and then I used it as food, and now I gotta rank this thing up again. So here, you deal, when you deal damage, you have a 20% chance of gaining maternal disdain, increasing your critical hit chance. I'll take that all day. Want to get that to rank 10. And here, the legendary essence, Bone Spear, also destroys enemy armor for 3.2 seconds, increasing the critical hit damage they take by 20%. So once I have my summons out there, which are having a larger chance, the more summons I have out there to crit, if I'm ripping away their armor with my Bone Spear primary behind, it's giving them more chance to even hit those crits. Love that. And our stance secondary piece of gear, we have the Viper's Bite gem. It's funny that I'm using my rank 5 2-star Viper's Bite over my Seeping Bile gem. Seeping Bile has a longer cooldown. This one kind of works all the time, or has a better chance. It has a better chance of hitting. It poisons enemies in a nutshell. And then the Dark Magus Skeletal Mage now summons a Dark Magus that unleashes Hungering Soul Fire at nearby enemies, and the damage is increased by 18%. So now my mages are going to throw Soul Fire rather than going in with their normal attack. I love Soul Fire for the mages, not for myself in particular. I'll take a look really quickly at the familiar that I'm using as well. We were very lucky, and we do have a really solid familiar, which has ferocity and resilience up to legendary status. We do have a legendary familiar right here. And when you take a look, chain reaction is what we have. We do not have, survivability on any of my familiars. None of them whatsoever. But this here, the active skill, Rain of Stone, strikes enemies in front of the familiar, reducing the damage that they inflict. Not my favorite familiar of all of the ones that I have, but it is the one that is in the best shape. It's the best familiar that I have at this point in time. The skill increased damage, and we have damage taken has been reduced. I don't really jump too much into familiars and how they affect the builds, but just to give you guys a little bit of a look there. Let's come on over to the dummy, and we're going to just do a little test here. We're going to go 1 minute. I'm going to drop all of my skills and all of my everything on top of the dummy. We'll see how much damage we can do. I've done this video where I compared this build to, I believe it was a poison build that I had at the time. And so we have an idea of the numbers that we're going to see here. But let's dive in 3, 2, 1, going in with everything right here. Everything on top. We're going to just keep on. When the skills are up, we're going to drop them. We're going to just keep on dropping them as quickly as we can. We want to have that golem hitting. We want to have the electricity up as soon as we can. Things are going to start going ham here. Here we got another burst of the bone armor. Boom, there we go. Bone armor dropping that electricity. We're at 22 seconds. Haven't done this in a couple of weeks. I wonder if my build has gotten any stronger. We're going to see. Golem, there we go. Skeletons, golem again, and boom, we're dropping the electric. Let's go. We're sitting at 40 seconds. Looks like we got some solid damage dropping right now. By the way, this build, I didn't talk about it, but the resonance is only 1500. I'll show you that once we get out of here. About to be up on our time. I want to make sure I don't go over. I want to get this right. We got our, everything is hitting hard. There we go. 59. Boom. 1 minute. In 60 seconds, we dropped 78 million damage. That is more than 1 million damage per second. Want to take a look at the breakdown? Bone Spear, only 7 million. Check this out. The Bone Armor, 22 million damage from all of that electricity. We have the Golem, 12 million. Skeletons, almost 18 million. And the Mages, 17 million. Only a little bit done right here by legendary gems, 1.8%, but the largest percent here is from bone armor, taking advantage of all of the skills that we're using, dropping all of those summons, and basically making the electricity go ham. There's only one gem that could, in my opinion, let's actually, let's go to the shop and look at it really quickly. If you have more summons, there's more things for electricity to jump to, right? So if you were to have a nice, in good shape, Echoing Shade gem, it's going to drop additional summons, basically clones of yourself, more necromancers out on the battlefield, and that would make more electricity jump between. I like the idea of the Echoing Shade gem added to this. With that in mind, there's something that I'm considering, but I'm not 100% sure would be a wise choice, and that would be to put in my Fervent Fang. I could get this Fervent Fang gem to rank 10. I'm not selling or breaking this thing. I can't sell it, but I'm not breaking it down because you could only get these from Battle Pass or Boon of Plenty, or Prodigy's. No, not Prodigy's Path. So they're very hard to get. So once you get it to 10, that's when you're going to keep. I'm pretty close to being there already. I just don't have the gem power to get it there, and I'm not using it, so I'm not going to waste that. But for any of you Necros out there that are watching this, is Fervent Fang a gem that's viable on Necro? I'm being told that people don't believe that the buffs actually affect the summons, which would hold us back from doing something like that. By the way, we talked about our resonance. I have 1,529 resonance. Like I said, nothing crazy, and we're still dropping 1.2 million damage per second with our Necro summons build. I really love this build. I love being the Necromancer. It's been a really good time, a ton of fun, and we drop a lot of damage. Farming, open world stuff, Heliquary, PvP, we're even putting a build together for this as well. I'm going to be sharing with you my farming build, my Heliquary build, and then once I hone it in, I'm going to even share with you guys my PvP build. I know I'm not a PvPer, but we're working on it. Hope this build helped you guys out. Hope you enjoy it, and I'll see you guys back here tomorrow with another video.